Hey, Cookster here, and welcome to another video. In this video, we're doing the body filler work on this repair we made in the last video where I did all the metal work on this very damaged corner right here. Now, I'm calling this an advanced repair because this is all shaped, this is all curved, there's nothing flat here. That sounds like it would actually be easy, but it's easier to get filler flat with a block in a flat area. When this is all shaped and all curved, you've got no reference point, we'll call it. So this is all shaped. You have to sculpt all this by hand and use your eyes, use your hands, use all your tools at your disposal. Now, something that is new for me, I use one of these profile gauges. You've seen these where it's a row of teeth and you push them up and it makes a profile. I use this to judge this corner right here because, as I said, this corner is all shaped. I had really no reference to go by other than my eye and what my hands told me. So I took a profile gauge to the other side of the truck, used it, and brought it over here and used it as a gauge to get this corner back in shape again. This is an advanced repair. This is not easy, so if you've never worked filler before and you're tackling something like this, don't get frustrated, don't get mad with yourself. It's probably going to take you 2 or 3 times to get it right. Once you get primer on one, it really makes you start to look like it's going to look once it's painted. I've done the best I can do here by eye with my filler work experience to make this corner up here right, but I won't really know for sure till I get primer on it if I quote unquote like it or not. But that's in a different video. We're not going to do that in this video. So this is another master class, and I'm trying to do my master class videos with no fast forward and no skipping over steps. But in this case, this video would have been about 3.5 hours long, so that wasn't going to work. So I did selectively fast forward anything critical, anything I was telling you what I did. It's all there. It's maybe more than you want to see, but hey, it's my master class, so that's what we're doing. So, all right, that's enough yapping. Let's get into it. Let's go. So you can see here the area has already been covered in black epoxy primer. I use PPG epoxy primer. I like to put epoxy primer under all my filler work. It just makes for a longer lasting repair. The epoxy gives it a good surface. It protects the metal. The body fillers adhere to it very well. They're compatible chemically. So I will say, whatever epoxy primer you decide to use, make sure it is compatible with body filler on top, and make sure your body filler is compatible on top. And let me show the body filler right quick. I never do that. Hold on. The body filler I use is the Evercoat Rage Ultra. This is good stuff. It is expensive. There's lots of other fillers out there. Some a lot cheaper, some a little cheaper. There's others that are more expensive. This is what I've been using for a long time. We have a body line crease and we have to build out a filler. I've never really shown that before on my channel. This is 100% collision work. Pretty much all the work I've done up to now, even the body filler work, was based around rust repair, patch panels, that sort of thing. This is a straight up collision repair, although it's a small one. We're not fixing the whole side of a car or a door, that was crashed and bashed into. So it's a small area, but it's also a deep area. So we got to build this area up with filler. We got to build a body line crease here. I'll show you how to do that. There's some tricks and some methods to make sure your lines are straight and not wavy and lumpy. We'll do feather edging, of course. This is all curved. There's no flat panels here. It just starts to flatten out here into the door and the back. So there is a feathering into a flat area, but most of the work here we got to do. This is all curved. So real quick, here's the area we're wiping the filler over. I'm just showing it to you in the black epoxy primer because I can. It looks better and it looks worse. And it's black. If you don't know, black shows every little bump and ding and bubble and ripple and all that mess. But it looks decent. But what I want to show you is I'm also working the front of my door jambs here. I'm having to cut and rework my jambs and open my jambs up. So I've already started that work, and you can see where I've started welding here. So my body filler work, when I'm done, I'll have body filler wrapped from corner all the way around this corner because I'll have to body filler this area here after I get through welding it. Plus this dent wraps all the way around this corner. So let's get to it, put some filler on it, let's go. So I'm just going to start. The first layer here, I kind of put it in there and kind of mash it down in there, for lack of these are not very technical terms, but they say it helps with the pinholes doing it that way. I don't know if I've ever really experienced that, but going to try to get enough filler up in this corner here on this body crease to build it out. It's a good chance I won't have enough here, and I know this looks really messy and really nasty, but that's how your first white normally is going to look. You're not going for beauty points here. You're trying to get enough filler on here where you can come back and shape this crease. And you may be thinking that's a lot of filler. Well, I'm hoping I have this filler here less than 1/8 of an inch. There may be a spot or two in that crease right there that got a little bit deeper than that. That, boys and girls, is not what you want to do. Son of a bitch. Well, I ain't wasting it. Let's work around it. I don't know what I was saying. That just ruined my plans. So I'm going to run this filler up here on the round one on this corner. It's going to be full of dirt, which is not desirable. But I ain't wasting this stuff. I've been doing this crap 40 years. I don't think I've ever dropped a Bondo board before full of filler in the floor. What a stupid thing to do. So I'm just liberally putting this stuff on here. I'm really applying this stuff heavy. That green tape is there to keep me off this area up here that I don't want to put a bunch of filler on that I got to work down. I was trying to talk about this crease down here. I'm hoping that area winds up being no deeper than 1/8 of an inch in the worst spots. Most of it is not going to be that deep. I showed you my metal work. I think I did a pretty good job of getting it within a 1/16 in most places. Some places less than that. You know, 30 to 60 thousandths, which is a 1/16. Let's see here. I need to keep working and stop talking. So, and we're going to cut a lot of this off, which is the point. And you kind of try to over wipe it and then give you room. Now I'm trying to run the spreader around this corner right here, this crease, and kind of build it up some. Kind of build my initial line. That line is nowhere near accurate, but it's the first shot. Got to start somewhere. This is a lot of shaping here. It's going to take us a while to shape this down. All right, it's starting to set now, so pretty much got to leave it alone. Once the filler starts to get off of it, you're just going to start making a mess. As I keep on doing it, and I know what I can and can't do here, so we'll let that dry, start to set up, and we'll come back and start working it down. I like to start shaping with tater graters, surf form tools, with cheese graters. We call them tater graters in the shop. So you can do a lot of shaping with these. You can also get in trouble with them if you overdo it. Right now I'm just kind of doing an initial pass, and I know my back's going to be in the camera. I'm trying not to do that. I'm just doing some initial shaping here. You're in these areas with all these curves in it, you're nothing but a sculptor. You're sculpting. So picture a sculptor taking off all the, you know, the extra whatever material before he starts sculpting. That's all I'm doing here. I'm also knocking down this top layer. I call it the sticky, where the filler has a little bit of a sticky residue when it first starts to set. Knocking that off. You will reach a point when the filler gets hard enough that your cheese grater won't be able to bite in anymore. So I'm just doing my initial shaping here, trying to get it into some semblance of some kind of shape before I start my sanding. And I'm going to sand all this by hand. This is an oddball, complicated, unusual shape. There's not a good machine options for sanding this. Yeah, you could use the tater grater or the 3-inch roll-up. Try to cut down put that tape on there to keep the edges, the areas I didn't want to get filler covered up with filler, to keep it off of them. So I'm just going across here. Working it down. And this is a skill or a technique that takes some practice. You're not going to just pick up one of these and start magically shaping filler. Now, I haven't really done anything in this crease, the body line crease here, because I can't yet. This won't fit down in there. I'm just kind of working around the shape. As I said, knocking off what I know is the big, high, excess, bulky areas. I put a lot of filler on here, but that gives me room to wipe it down or sand it down, which is what I wanted. Which is what I want. You can do this as much or as little as you want. I'll pick a point here soon where I decide it's just. I'll stop, but I'm trying to get some of the shaping done. It is easier and faster with this tool. It cuts aggressively. It cuts a lot of filler out really fast. That's why I say you can get in trouble with this thing quick. You can overcut it. But this area here, we're going to have to wipe it, I know, at least one more time. It's that complicated or that difficult of a dent to shape. It's not going to be done in one wipe. This whole area over here is really, really high. I did it on purpose, like I said, but I don't want to overcut. Cut too much. Just blend it in a little bit, but not really much. We're about dry enough where we can start hitting it with sandpaper. So this is 36 grit on a Durablock. Paper's about wore out, but I'm gonna do what I can first. This filler's not hardened up yet. It's in that state I was talking about where if you get on it just right, it's not hardened up. You can sand it without it being fully hardened yet. So I'm just gonna start working on it a little bit. Just roughing it. I mean, roughing in is not even really the term. We're not even roughing in yet. We're still doing some rough shaping. As I sand this, I'm trying to decide how I want to attack this crease, and I don't have a good answer yet. I don't have a good answer yet. I'll see if I can kind of get this halfway roughed in up here first. But I should go ahead and hit that crease, because the harder it gets, then the harder it gets to sand. I've got a smaller block here, 36 again. I think I'll just take the nose of it and start kind of wiping it or running it down in this crease. There's no good, really well way to do this. You could make a special tool or something. There's people that advertise special blocks and tools. I don't use any of that. I don't need to. You want to invest in anything or try to make something, by all means do it. This narrow block here does fit this area here pretty good. So that's probably the best tool to be using at the moment. Roughing this in. And I can't exactly tell you how far I'm going to cut it down. I'm just going to keep cutting until I kind of think I'm getting in the area of its final height. I'm nowhere near there yet, for sure. And a lot of that is judged by when you start to do some feathering out here on the edges. You can kind of tell once it starts to feather, kind of where your height is at. We're not anywhere near that yet, except maybe right here on this edge. Alright, I'm gonna get some more paper. This paper wore out. Hold on a second. This is 3M sticky back to go on these blocks. Cut it long so the nose will roll over, so you can use this area here as a sanding profile to sand with. Which I'll wind up doing. Like when I get up into here, I'll wind up doing that. I'm not really ready for that yet. I'm just trying to work it down and kind of get it flat. And we're nowhere near being feathered. Feather edge. You got to kind of get the shape of the filler. In places like this, you kind of got to get your shape built in or sanded in as you go. There's lumps down here. And at some point, I will have to start sanding like this around this crease, but we're not really there yet. Building these body lines is definitely a skill, and it takes practice. You probably can't tell, but the crease runs up. I got it running uphill. The way I built this filler up. It wasn't on purpose, it just kind of worked out that way. So I am going to start taking my block here and sanding it down a little bit. And I'm working from my front edge, where's my margin up here, my border. So that's where I kind of know where to start. And like I said, you can undercut this really quick. So it just takes practice, and it takes a little bit of skill. It takes a lot of skill actually. And if I undercut it and don't get it straight the first time, I will not be surprised. Keep working this corner. See a little high spot poke through right there, so that's a clue we're getting close, at least down in here. We don't want to sand this quite as aggressively under here anymore if we can avoid it. When you build these creases up, like I'm sitting down now, kind of at eye level, I can see this crease is just a big old whoop-de-doo. So I can see where the area is I need to sand and kind of get it sanded down. One of the good tricks about doing this, you can use masking tape here to help you build this crease. I'm not to that point yet. In fact, I'm a long way from it. But when we get close, I'll show you how to do that. Right now, I'm just kind of eyeballing it best I can. Doing what any good sculptor would do, using his eyes. Now I've got the crease itself sort of established. So what I can do now, I'm gonna go ahead and start see if I can try to finish and feather edge all this down here first. I should get my bigger block out. So I actually am trying to feather back in here now. So I've talked about feather edging before, real quickly. Feather edging is where you got the filler up here and it's high. Here's your panel down here. You start your filler up high and you work it down until it's just exactly in plane with each other. And if you don't do that, if you get it too low, you have a low spot. We call it a butthole. You have a high, you have a big lump. That's the area where the guys that are learning have to learn, and they have the hardest time learning what they're doing. The feather edging, you can have the biggest, I can have this entire back panel here white with filler and get it flat and straight with a block, but yet my edges are lumpy and bumpy, it ruins your whole work. Feather edging will make or break your job every time. There's that high area I was telling you about, right there. And to get this, it's not feathered at all. These big ridges, and I'll show you in close in a minute. I talked about it in my other video about this rear panel. This rear panel's got a big crown to it. So I knew I was going to feather all this in together anyway. So I've got to re-wipe all this out here and feather it in. And we'll get it there. We're just getting started here. So this area here is not as much the fault of this. Well, it is the fault of this dent, and this back panel is not straight. It's got a curl to it. Watch my other videos, you'll see. I'll explain it better. Work around this corner right here. I'm holding my block with two hands so I can hold my block the way I want it. It's got nothing to do with being tired. I want to hold this block in a certain orientation, you know, like this. I don't want to sand around this corner like this. I want to sand around kind of like this. You get the idea. Eventually I'll see my margins poke through my edges, and I'll know I'm starting to get close to being feathered. Okay, see there, we're starting to feather in right down here now. Move up this corner a little bit. There's old paint out here. I gotta sand that off. But I'll grind all that out eventually. I'm using the front flat area of my block here up into here. So I'm starting to cut down. So I'm starting to tempt the feather edge a little bit, so that's a good sign. Now I'm doing pure shaping here. I'm sanding nothing but curves, so this is all basically your however you want to shape it. You want to get it in the right shape though. You don't want to have the shape that doesn't match the original shape. So that takes some practice too. Now I'm just going to keep sanding here until I kind of get down to close to bare metal. Because right now I'm still way too high. And all this, there we go, right there. There's a little bit of metal showing right there. So I'm getting down now to where I want to be. See if I can feather back here. Bring you in closer. There's a low spot down here, and it's very easy for me to see. I can see where the filler doesn't feather out. Try over here. So that's, we got a dent right here that I knew was there. That's fine. See if we can feather on over into here a little bit. When you're doing this, when you start to reach metal, or in this case the primer, the epoxy primer, that's your clue to try and stop. Now sometimes you can't help but you're going to sand through your primer, but your goal is not to, but it does happen, for sure. I got a low spot right here that won't feather. I will come out here and sand off all this paint. That's got most of it off in my repair area. Oh, so that's this part of the corner right here feels pretty good. Shaped pretty well. It's not perfect up here, but again, I'm not going to be able to get the front perfect because I got to work this side. But it feels pretty good. I can look at filler work and tell you if it's feather edge just by looking at it, and that's just from experience. Or not feather edge. This spot right here is definitely not feather edge, and I'll show it to you in a moment. Alright, since this back here feels pretty good, I do want to work around this corner. Actually, you know what? Don't be afraid to pick up a piece of hand sand. Now, everybody's going to tell you you can't sand by hand. Don't bury in with your fingertips to try to make troughs. This is some worn out sandpaper that I doubled up, so it's a little bit thick. It's got a little bit of strength to it. Just lay your fingers on it and let the paper glide over the surface and do the work. Don't dig in with your fingertips. There's no better way to sand around a curve like this than with your fingers. And you can argue with me if you want to, but I'm still going to keep doing it. So I'm working this bit of a curve here. It was a little bit, the shape wasn't what I wanted, let's put it that way, from the block. So don't be afraid to use your fingers, just do it carefully and do it right. That feels better already. Let's see if we can feather this on down up here. Be aware of the nose of your block down here. If you dig off into this crease, you'll sand over this filler. And I've almost done it a time or two, so I got to be careful about it too. feather it in on the edges up around the side or the top. I put it on pretty deep, so it's going to take a while to cut it down. Work up here something. Now I'm starting to feather right here down in this corner. So now I'm going to start kind of work my way around. Oh, I haven't mentioned it yet. When you're block sanding, do the crisscross wherever you're sanding it up as much as you can. Don't do straight line unless you have a good reason for doing it. Try to do the crisscross like I'm doing here. I'm crisscrossing this way and I'm crisscrossing that way. It would have been way faster to grind this down with a grinder, but it's not how I wanted to show you guys to do this. So we're committed. I'll get it. Alright, so I'm feathering in now this area I've already worked. There's been priming and blocking all up into here previously. Take a piece of 80 grit on another little small dur block. And I want to work this down. I'm hoping this is still good and straight. This is not something you normally want to do, but in this case, it's a thing to do. I'm cutting this primer all the way over into where the filler feathers in. So what I'm doing here is I'm actually taking this 80 grit. I'm kind of going ahead and feathering in my edge out here. Feather edging, see the dark spot here? We're nowhere near feathered. A feather edged area is where it tails off, just so gradually. The sand scratches and everything, it just fades away. That's why we call it feather edging. If you see dark areas, in my case, I've got the epoxy primer, so it's really easy to see. If it was on bare metal, it'd be a little harder to see. With the epoxy, these dark areas here, that's still not feathered. Nowhere near feathered. Not feathered. Big dark holes like that and big and craggly edges. You want to have a smooth transition, just fading out all around. This line right here, not feathered. That's that low spot I was talking about. That I can probably actually block out with primer. It looks a little off, and it is. If this was a like a side of the truck that showed, I'd wipe again into here. But being this the back of the panel, I can probably get away with priming that and feathering that out. Out here on the side, it's feathered in really nice. Now this is not feathered, and I didn't feather this on purpose because, like I said, I got to work this front edge right here. I might go ahead and feather it down for you guys' benefit, but in the grand scheme, I've got to wipe this front edge and feather this in together. There's a big low in here. I know from wiping this panel before. I stopped my work here on purpose, knowing I had to fix this. So now, at some point, I'll come back and I'll wipe all the way across here, and we'll feather all this together. If you tried to fix this one little dent here, and one little dent here, and one little dent here, one little dent here, you don't do that. You wipe them all together and feather them. It makes feathering so much easier and way more faster. So here's the start of my body line. You can see here's the line we're working to, and the other line we're working to right here. You can see I've got a pretty good facsimile of a line. We got a little dip right there, but more importantly than a dip, we got a high. This is like a ski slope right here. It's pooched over like a mountain, where it's supposed to be concave. No, it's supposed to be concave. So the curve actually curls in and dips this away, whereas right now over here it still shapes convex. I think it's a dome versus a ditch. There you go. It's supposed to be a ditch. I've got a dome, and it's not straight. When I was sanding it a while ago, I did get it down some. So you can see that the crease starting to work, and this again here, this is all done by eye. There's not a lot of fancy tricks, although as I said, you can use masking tape. You can pull masking tape across here and get a straight line and sand up to it. I'm not to that point yet. The main thing to do right now is to sand this on down some more and make it into a ditch versus a dome. And it's almost right here, so I just got a lot of work to do. So other than this body line crease here, the rest of it, hell, is probably 70% done already, and that's really effing good. Still got to finish feathering this down. Now there's also some previous body work of mine in right here too as well that I wiped into. So I haven't feathered this corner yet, and I haven't feathered right here. I got to work all this area together too. So just keep that in mind, but for now we'll keep feathering up here. I've almost got it. I do want to work across this corner some right here. So this is still 36. We also mentioned about the body line crease here. How I showed you a while ago how it was kind of sort of straight. As I sand this filler down, I'm pushing that body line crease back in. So since it was on a curve, on an angle, the farther I push it in, the more this crease moves up. Now I think you understand me. So if I had to sand this crease perfectly straight earlier, and then went back and cut down, I'm going to exaggerate. Say I cut down a ½ inch here, then I'm way back into here and my crease is wrong again. So that's why I didn't spend the time to get my crease straight, because I knew I was still going to have to work in this area out here. Now I didn't mention that, so I wanted to mention that now. Doing a little more crisscross here. Flip this corner a little bit more. I'm shaping this corner just a little bit more. It had a little knot feeling in place right there. Okay, this all feels really good for the rough end. I do have to work this corner, but as a first pass, it's coming out pretty damn good. I'm happy with it. It's not perfect, don't take me wrong. Little spot right here I don't like, but that's a high spot. That's actually a piece of filler. Much better. Now I'll tell you something you can do I hadn't thought about until just now. And I never had these in the body shops, why I didn't really think about it. You can use a set of these profile gauges. So I've got a couple different sets of these. I just took this one over there on that corner, on this same area in the corner. When you do that though, remember you got to left and the right. You got to turn it, you got to flip it correctly. But when I come over here and check this side, it shows me my filler right here is a little bit high. In other words, the area I thought was still lumpy is still lumpy. Get you some of these. You can. I got two of them. I actually have three of them. This one has longer fingers. I could go all the way into the corner, which will help me out. I've also got this area right here. I'm not happy with all these little high spots and bumps showing up. I'm going to wipe across here and try to feather across here one more time. And then I've also got a little bit of a low area here and here. This is an area I'd repaired previously, so there's filler already in here that I put in here. So I want to wipe this area right here. This was a bit of a low spot in here, and feathering this into this would be much easier if I just go ahead and wipe from here down. Maybe it sounds counterintuitive to you, but trust me. If I just left this here and tried to feather this between here and here, I could do it with primer. It'd take a lot longer and a bunch of thick primer that I don't like to do. So I'm just going to wipe it from here down, feather it all together. It'll be much easier and you'll be faster and you get a better job in the end. Alright, let's see what we can do here. Ah, damn it. I should have put tape. Damn it. I should have put tape back in this window. Shit. Well. Damn it. If I stop now, I'm liable to lose this filler, so. Just going to have to be careful. And again, I'm over wiping this on purpose. That's what you generally do. Trying to be careful on this window edge. The more filler I put down in that crease, the more I got to sand out, and that's a pain in the butt. So, trying not to put any down in there. I also don't want to wipe filler on my crease that I've spent all that time building up. I mean, I'm going to get down close to it, but I don't really want to build up the crease anymore. I mean, if it happens, it happens, but it's not my goal. Now, I am trying to wipe down low enough where I can feather some. So it's a balance in that. I'm going to get some on there like that little spot right there. Sometimes you just can't help it. I got to come across this area right here, so it's just going to happen, and I'll have to work it back out. What I'm going to do is pull it down into the crease, so I want to sand as much of it off. So this right here, I'm going to work most of this out, which I may be a mistake. I may need to feather this down here. So who knows? It might be a mistake, it might not. I'll pull up a little bit right here. Again, trying to feather my filler. But I gotta go up to not pull down into my filler on that crease, body line. You know what I mean. And then work it down some more. So that should be good for there. Now I want to catch this corner down here before I lose this filler. And I could have wiped this area. I could have wiped this twice. The top half, you know, wipe the top half, get done, and then come down here and wipe the bottom. And that might have been a smart plan, but I already mixed up this much filler, so that didn't even cross my mind when I was mixing my filler up, or getting my filler of how much I needed. So we're way past that point, that decision point. I mixed up all this filler. And again, trying to keep out of this contour down here. I don't need it down there. And since I got a little bit of filler left, I'm going to go ahead and come down into this corner again. That could be a mistake, but probably not. Because I wasn't quite happy with that corner either. Just feather all the way down into here if I can. I guess you can see that. Alright, per as my normal, I'm going to do a little bit of light shaping with the cheese grater. Just to do a little bit of light shaping here. I don't want to undercut it or overcut it, so I'm going to be real light. This just kind of gets my initial shape, but I'm certainly not trying to cut much here. I'm not trying to cut much at all, because I will overcut this if I ain't careful. Am not careful. Okay, just a little bit there. Do a little bit more around this corner, because it's pretty lumpy. And we'll knock it off down here. You want to bypass this whole step, obviously you can. It's just something that I've done forever, and it's just part of my process. Now, like I said, if I was wiping an entire door or something, you know, a big huge area, I would let it dry and do my initial shape with a sander, but this is not that kind of a dent. I really didn't get enough hardener in this stuff. Standing here waiting, I'm impatient as hell. What I am is I'm hungry, I want to go eat. Into here. Anyway, you don't want to be overly aggressive cutting this down, or you'll wind up undercutting. Watch your edges, margins, whatever you want to call them. I gotta get some more paper. I loaded this up pretty good. I should have waited, but I was in a hurry. Right, this will sound much better. Yep, much better. Work around the sides. Work around the front. I hope I already said it before. It's not so much that there's a dent in here. It's just feathering these two areas together is a lot easier to do with filler than trying to fill up with primer and do it. You could do it. Take a lot longer. Take a lot of primer. I mean, the skim coat is the way to do it. That's the way the professionals do it. The show car guys do it. So anyway, take that for what it's worth. I'm in the way, ain't I? Be careful about sanding like this. You'll cut big grooves and big valleys and trenches in your filler. And plus you don't sand like that anyway. Not normally. Now here I want to block down. I start to hit the edges of my window right here. Those are my margins, my edges I call them. See, I already hit right there. Let me get this filler out of there. So that's the plane across this area right here trying to get flat. There's a dent in here that I fixed. So the fact this corner might be a little bit low here is not surprising. And I got a feather in this existing filler work. Not existing. Where I whacked this whole rear panel and got a feather that in too. I know I'm in the way. The crease is the same way. This body line right here, you got to feather it too. It's not going to magically sand itself. Wouldn't that be something? Well, wait a minute. I'd put body man out of work. We don't want that. So I'm just going to keep sanding this, knowing that my crease down through here is still okay. So I'm just sanding until I see metal start to cut through. That's pretty much my stopping point. Just to the side where I can see what I'm doing. Work it down from the top too. Just take your time doing this stuff. These creases and body lines are not easy. And luckily, like I said, this one's basically straight. I'm just having to cut the filler down into it. I got an area here that don't really want to feather right. And that could be because we're low again between here and here. I made a video about skim coating this whole back panel back here. And how I had to stop here to work this corner down so I could feather them all together. And it could be that I'm still a little bit high. So I'm definitely still high down here, so I haven't feathered it down yet. Okay. More done here. I now need to sand down here, feather this on in. So I'll sand till I hit my edges here, and then I'll feather in between the two edges. Talked about it before, but feathering one wiper filler into another is very tricky. Because if I start sanding back here like this, the feather right here, I'm going to wind up cutting a big hole back here. So you kind of got to know how to do it and just be careful. Now I'm trying to feather this high spot down in this back here. See, now we're starting to feather in. See how I'll show you. But you can see where the edges are starting to feather out. That's why we call it feather edge. So that's that area I was worried about this whole time, being a little high. It's not high. We're feathered into it, thank goodness. See me sanding around this curve like this, that's to follow that curve, but watch your nose at this block. If there's filler down here, don't let yourself dig into it. I'm being real careful not to dig in down here when I do that. Right, I'm going to show you something here. I kept working with this corner right here, and I didn't like it. And it wasn't feathering out right here, and I kept tinkering with it. I worked with it about 30 more minutes off camera right in here. I just never could get it where I wanted it. So I realized I was going to have to wipe it again, so I thought, well, hell, I'm going to get that damn contour gauge out. So if you can see here, and I'm trying to do this with one-handed, we're good all the way about to see. Well, I only got one hand. See where the filler starts? Right in like the 10, what's that, centimeter side? The 10, where the filler starts, we're good to about right there on the. See back here where we got a big gap? There's a low spot right there. It's a big gap. It's 1/16 or so low, and that's where I kept. I mean, I've got body man hands. I can feel where it transitions off, and it just didn't feel right between here and here. Well, it's low. When I build this filler up from here out, I'll be able to get this back in plane again, and it'll wrap around much better. So I am going to re-wipe this corner right here. And if you don't have one of these contour gauges, get you one. I've been doing body work for 40 years, and here I am using one just to double check. So there's a little tip I'm trying to show you with the light and the shadows, and I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's certainly there. Anyway, now the one thing I kind of want to do here, I want to try to feather it some as I wipe the filler. So I'm gonna work it around here. And again, I'm building it extra heavy. You might be noticing that. And yeah, I'm putting it on kind of extra heavy. I want to have enough. I want to have enough this time without having to wipe it a third time. I gotta roll it over into this crease up here so it'll feather. So I may have to wipe the back side of this again. I mean, if I do, I do, because I know I'm lower up here, because it wouldn't feather. Now I'm going to wipe around the corner. That'll lift some of it up. I know it looks bad, but it has to kind of look that way to get started with. Again, these curved corners, curved areas, especially this kind of a curve, I mean, you're straight up sculpting, so it's not going to look that pretty to start with. I may have to wipe this one more time, and if I do, I do. See if I can feather it down a little bit down here. Pull this in. Alright, we're going to let that dry. I'm going to feather it a little bit right here because I'm afraid if I don't want to run out. Just a little bit right there. And I can see the paint now is way high. I might be able to work it down a little with the spreader. Help it out some. I wouldn't exactly recommend you do this unless you really know what you're doing. But I mean, you got to learn to do it. It takes practice. So, okay, that looks a little better. I'm gonna hit to a point where I'm just start making it worse. So, I need to stop. Yeah, something like that. I'm just gonna stop. So, we'll let it set up. I am gonna do some shaping this time. You might notice this filler looks a little bit darker blue, and that's why I put blue. This filler uses blue hardener, so I put more hardener in it this time than I did last night. So I'm doing a fair amount of sculpting here just to try to get it in some kind of shape. I can't do much up here because it's just an area you can't get to. I can do a little bit. That's pretty much all that has to be done with sandpaper. Alright, I'm going to take my profile gauge. I know you can't see this. Just kind of see what I got. That looks pretty good actually. So I think we're about ready to sand. So I'm going to start just some light sanding here to get the cheese grater marks out. Start to get it kind of flat, shaped, whatever words you want to use. I like to put in this corner some with some hand sand. I probably ought to be sitting down where I can see this, but I'm still roughing it in, so I'm going to take a chance that I'm alright. You will overcut really quickly if you ain't careful. If you're not careful. I don't want to overcut it again. Well, I didn't really undercut it the first time. Well, I did sort of. Some of it I did. Some of that extra sanding I did on this crease I shouldn't have done. But hey, that happens. Try the feather edge up in here some too. I got to get that down at some point. Remember before I had trouble with it feathering right along in here, so I'm trying to be real careful when I see it start to cut down with the, start to feather in, to being real careful to not overdo it, because I'll cut it out real quick again, and I don't want to do that. This whole corner right here has been a bit of a struggle. Now the crease seems to be looking pretty good as far as its height and straightness and all that. I am going to put the contour gauge back on it again since I've got it. That's a good technique to use. I didn't have that back in the body shop 40 years ago, but I've got it now, so I'm going to use it. This is like I said, this is nothing but shaping. I mean, This is not a flat door or a slightly crowned panel or a, you know what I mean. This thing is all shape. If I was making this from scratch, metal shaping it, I'd be doing the exact same thing as far as profile gauges and patterns and stuff. Just I've never had thought about doing it with body filler until now because of this unique situation we're in, repair, whatever you want to call it. Okay, starting to break through again, so let's back off. I do want to start the feather out here again. Establish my two ends, you know, out here and out here. Remember, your hands are the best tool you got to stand around these curves. Just be careful how you do it. Be careful how you hold the sandpaper. Don't dig in with your fingertips. All that good stuff. Okay. This end out here I will block a little bit with a long block. I actually put the 80 grit on it. Okay, we feel good. So we're feathered good right out into here now. So we just gotta work the corner. We had to feather the transition of the new filler into the old, and we got it. Okay. Let's see what ye old profile gauges says. Actually, that's still a little high. Kind of right in here. I know you can't see this, and I can't bring you over here to do it. I need to cut down in some right here to close up a little gap I got right there. Alright, so I'm going to sand over here. And I really don't want to see metal this time. That kind of got me in trouble last time. I cut down too far. So I saw the metal up underneath, and that was a bit too much. Other than up here where we're feathering into. I've also got to be careful right down here because this edge of this sandpaper will sand the trough right here. So I'm being very careful not to do that. And I may have to go back and work into it some later. So I'm being aware of that, so that is part of it. Now We either starting to cut through there, or that's the other filler. One of the two. Or both. A little bit of both, probably. You can use a little more, but we're basically there. Anywhere now that I want to stop, it's going to be good enough. Because I'm not going to be riding around in parking lots telling people, hey, get a profile gauge and check my two cab corners. They are close enough that nobody's going to know it but me and whoever watches this video. I got to make this top crease body line look good. And I hope I can get it with what I got, but we'll see. I'm going to go ahead and 80 grit this, see how it feels. See, they're starting to cut through, so that is my signal to stop, which I already was. All I'm doing is sanding the all I'm doing here is sanding the sand scratches out with 80 grit. I'm not doing any drastic shaping work anymore. Alright, bottom side feels really good. Really good. Looks good. So let's do the top side. Hope we get lucky on that too. Now as far as shaping this contour here, you could take a pencil or a dowel or a piece of rod or whatever you want if you wanted to make you a little bitty round block. But I've done this so long, I don't need to do that. And you can take paper, like if I take paper and fold it, I've got a mini sanding block. This edge is now a little mini round block. And I've done it that way forever, and everybody that I ever knew, that's how we all did it, so that's how I'm going to keep doing it. If you want to do something different, you know, whatever works for you, you do it. Alright. First thing I want to try to do is feather these gnarly edges up here. If I get this feathered like I like it, then I can worry about down here. If this won't feather, then I know I got other problems. This is 80 grit, by the way. I'm going to go ahead and feather it with 80. And once I get this feathered, if I feathered it in with 60 all the way, or 36, I feel like that would be a little bit too aggressive for what we're trying to do here. So I'm going to go ahead and do it with 80. At least this part up here. This area right here. Now here I'm going to use 36 out here. I'm trying to be careful back here is what I was trying to say. And I couldn't say it. So I just made me a little round sanding block like I just told you. Sanding in here and feathering this in. This is just slow, tedious work. There's no other way to describe it. So you just have to go along with it. We'll start to feather this down a little bit with 80 grit. I'm going to use the nose because the nose just fits up in there. Where you take the sandpaper and roll it over, you got an instant little roundish block right here. It fits up into here just right. I hope I can give it this last wipe, this second wipe, and be done with it. If I don't, I'll wipe it a third time. Go slow, take it easy. Very light 80 grit here. It's very, very light. Just pulling out these sand scratches. Oh, so light here. Not deep at all. Not hard at all. So I had one made for rounded. There we go. This is oh so light. I'm not sanding hard here at all. We're talking about feather edging. And bear's worth talking about. Anytime you have areas like this where there's multiple places, multiple high spots poking through, I got metal here and metal here, and I got the metal here, poking through there, poking through there, poking through here, kind of high right here. Anytime you got multiple areas like that, that's really hard to feather. You got to get it just right. There's not much margin for error. That's why I like to skim coat all over everything. And try not to let those areas cut through on me. There's a big ass sand scratch right there. And try not to let those areas cut through on me. They're doing it again to me now, but I'm being very careful, and I don't feel any places that are bumping out on me. In other words, they feel flat or feel correct. But if you see areas with a bunch of metal pooching out like that, little dots and domes and hot spots, normally it means you got to go back and tap them down, work them down. It's just something to look out for. The more dents you repair, the more situations you run into, the more things you'll learn. That's just one of the many things I've learned over all the years. So it may look a little odd if you know about feather edging. This looks a little dangerous, but in this case it's working out. So just wanted to point that out. Alright, back to this. Let's get down here and work this crease some more, because it still ain't where it needs to be. And now I am going to block this away. I'm cutting, because I am cutting filler. Trying to do it slowly. That's why I'm not using 36 grit. I want to take my time and sneak up on it. And again, I'm fixing to cut through over here. So I'm watching and being real careful when I start to cut through to stop. And let it hopefully let itself feather out. And also rounding the corner over a little, because the corner's got a slight round over. It's not a hard 90-degree corner. Sometimes you can overdo that too. It is true that when you put primer on one, it really shows it up. It's hard to, especially when you're inexperienced, it's hard to see a lot of that kind of stuff just when it's in filler. When you put primer on it, it really will show up. And that's a good thing. That's what primer's for. One of the many things. Okay. We are just about where that needs to be. Yeah, that feels much better than it did last night. That's way more better. And be careful coming around this corner, because I don't want to sand it low over here. And this is where it transitions between the little ditch we talked about, and it's flat right here. So you got to shape this into some transition you think looks right, or feels right, or whatever. Use your sculpting license, or however you want to put it, just to make it look right. I'm going to try the tape trick here. I don't do this a lot, but I can see I'm kicking up right here, and I don't like that at all. So I'm going to work around That's too low. This is a very tricky area. I already wiped it once. Don't want to screw it up again. I didn't screw it up, I just didn't have enough, I just overcut the filler. Now maybe I did screw it up. Whatever. So, now I'm going to stand back and look at it. I got to get down there and eyeball it, draw it in line, and make it look like I want it to look. And then when I do that, I can kind of sand to it. That's the general idea. Let me try it from this direction. Kind of watch it from the side. That may help some. Eyeball it down. That still don't look right. It's better. It's a tough spot to do. I'm telling you. And pulling tape on areas like this ain't easy either. If you've never tried to do this around a corner, if you never tried to do this around a corner, this is not easy. Well, now it's not sticking. Wonder why that is. That looks pretty good. I'm not going to sand all the way down to my tape lines here because I'm worried I'll overdo it. But I am going to use this line as a guide here. And again, I'm using 80 grit because if I use 36, I'll be cutting too aggressively and get too many sand scratches in it. And this Rage Ultra will cut with 80 grit pretty easily. Man, it's more than possible. I hope it's not going to happen. Did I put primer on this? When I prime it, I'm gonna stand back from about 20 feet and look at it and say that ain't right. And I sure hope that don't happen, but it is possible. I'm down to 30 thousandths or so above that line. I'm gonna stop, get a look at it and see what I think after I do some more feathering here. $80 grit again. Go ahead and finish feathering this up here now. You know, I was talking about the metal spots. I got two little high spots here and the filler in the middle. I'm trying not to cut that filler out, but it probably needs to be there to feather that correctly. Some more very light feathering right here. Yeah. Alright, a little light hand sand. I'm just being real gentle here. I'm also nitpicking. I've talked about that. I nitpick. I can't help it. It's just how I do. But I'm trying to get this as good as I can get it. before I put primer on it. But that's why we prime and we block sand. Now, this corner's pretty sharp here. I just want to barely go over it and round it over some. You got to be real careful doing this, or you'll go too far. Just light strokes, slow and steady. You'll see it when you do it, what you're doing. I can't show you because it's just too close in. You'll get the idea, and if you overdo it, you'll know it. When you put primer on it and it don't look right, you'll know it. So try not to overdo it. If you do overdo it, fix it. And use your block as a block. I would not recommend doing this by hand. You could do it by hand. I've probably done it. But just be careful. This has to be done. But you don't want to overdo it. I think we're good. I'm expecting to have to adjust it a little bit when I prime it. As far as maybe up or down a little bit, maybe even in and out a little. I think the in and out's fine this way. The up and down I may wind up having to adjust a little when I get primer on it and see it. But for now it feels really good. Way better than it felt last night. After my first coat. Woo! I'm gonna call that done. Except for the pinholes, that's done. That feels really good. I like it. It's I think I got the crease now, the corner down here. Feels good. It's nice and straight feeling. Feels straight, feels good. I like it. I do have to fill a few pinholes. I'm gonna fill them off camera, and then be back. We'll end the video. Hot damn! There's a big ass bug over there. Just hold on. So that's the end of the video. I hope you learned something. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you think I did a good job. I tried to do a good job, best I could do. So if you have not watched part 1 of this repair, be sure and watch part 1. Go back and see where we started out. It was a pretty gnarly, pretty nasty, not a great big dent. It's maybe the size of your fist. Not that deep, but it was a pretty gnarly dent right here on this cab corner. Not a worse spot to try to fix except somewhere that's not only in a curve, but in a vital line where you've got to rebuild it. That's a tough repair. So if you're repairing something like this and you're having trouble, don't feel bad. Just keep at it, keep going with it, keep working at it. Wipe it 2 or 3 times, prime it. Don't like it, fix it, prime it. You'll get it, just takes time. So the next video, I'm not sure. I will be priming and blocking this at some point. I got to put the lower cab corners on still. I want to do a laser straight video back here about straightening this rear panel and getting it quote unquote laser straight where it had a little bit of curl in it from the factory. Also, real quick, let me mention I've been getting more comments and more likes on my videos still, and I appreciate each and every one of those. I try to answer every one. I think so far I've answered them all. There's a few guys that are actively following along and commenting and asking questions, and I appreciate all of that. That helps tremendously, and it helps me, it makes me feel good. So thanks for all that. Any ideas or comments or whatever you want to see, drop them in the comment section, and let's see where we go with this. Okay? So anyway, I think that's enough yapping. Be sure to do all the YouTube stuff. Like, comment, subscribe, notification bell, share it around with your buddies, and I'll catch you on the flip side. Happy dent repair, y'all. Go fix something, go make something, go do something. Bye.